I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people just like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. My guest today is coming from the True North Health Center. She is a doctor there. Her name is Stephanie Peacock. Please welcome her to the show. I can't wait to find out your story and how you ended up at True North, one of my favorite places on earth.
Hi, Chef AJ. Thank you for having me. And yeah, I have to say it's quickly become one of my favorite places too.
How the heck did you get there?
Oh my gosh. So my story dates back to when I was swimming. So I was a competitive swimmer growing up. And so throughout my swimming career led me to chiropractic, and then through chiropractic led me into plant-based nutrition, which ultimately led me to True North Health Center.
When you say you're a competitive swimmer, tell me, what does that mean? Where did you compete?
All right. So I grew up in Cape Coral, Florida, and I started competitively swimming by the time I was 9 years old. And, but it was more for fun. I wasn't super serious, but by the time I was 14, I had broken a couple state records. And throughout high school, I won a few state championships. And then by the time I actually graduated from high school, I was the #1 recruit in the nation for the 500-yard freestyle. So from then on, I actually went to swim at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, where I won a few ACC records and also ACC championships. I broke 2 US Open records and won those titles as well, and went to compete internationally at the World University Games, which is a great meet. I went 3 separate years, and what it is, it's actually amazing. So they send basically athletes from all different colleges in the different countries and all around the world. And you basically go and stay in an Olympic village, and it's all different sports. So even from the US, I mean, it was basketball, baseball, soccer. I mean, all these different sports that are going to compete. It was amazing. So I got some really great international meets under my belt, and I won a few of those meets as well. And I actually broke an international record while I was there too. So basically, I was just competitive swimming. I was just traveling the world internationally. I've been to all the different continents except Antarctica, and basically traveled the country competing for swimming. So,
well, you don't look like you're much older than 22 or 24. So that's quite an accomplishment.
I'm 28.
Well, I knew you were young. That's pretty incredible that all you did. So did you ever go to the Olympics?
No, I didn't. So actually, after I graduated from the University of North Carolina, it was in 2014. So the Olympics were in 2016. So I knew that if I wanted to try to make the Olympic team, I had to swim professionally for another couple of years. So that's actually what moved me out to California. Was after I graduated from North Carolina, I had this decision to make. Is it okay? Do I want to start a career now, or do I want to keep swimming and everything? And so swimming was still my passion, and I swam for 16 years and I loved every second of it. So I decided to move out to California to swim under Coach Bill Rose, who he had been on the Olympic team staff twice, in 2008 and 2012, and was known for his distance swimmers. So, and I was a distance swimmer. So that's what brought me out to California. Me and my husband, we moved out there, and in 2014. And so that's where I started to train, and I went to the Olympic trials, and I actually missed the Olympic team by 1 spot. So they take the top 2 in every single event. So in the 800-meter freestyle, I actually placed 3rd by about 2 seconds. So I just missed the team.
Oh my gosh. Were you heartbroken about that?
I actually wasn't, because I spent the last 6 months preparing for that moment. Mentally, I kept telling myself, just have the best race that I possibly can. I didn't put any pressure on myself, and I just wanted to see what I could do. And I actually had one of the best races of my life. I won at best time, and I gave it everything that I had. And I knew that I couldn't have done anything else. So I was so proud of that swim. And I actually considered maybe even continuing swimming through 2020. But, I realized, I'm ready. 16 years of swimming, I was done. So
what was your stroke?
Freestyle.
That's okay.
Yeah. So I swam in the pool, and I also swam open water races. So I competed internationally for the 10K, which is a 2-hour swim race.
Oh my
that I
God.
would do as well. And
You know,
so, and that was brutal.
yeah, you must be incredibly fit, both cardiovascularly and just, I mean, I've seen your pictures on Instagram. You're gorgeous, but I mean, I'm
Oh,
guessing
thanks.
just to have exercised from that young age, you must have really great endurance and fitness just from being an exerciser from, I mean, who starts at 9? I didn't start exercising till 52.
Honestly, it was so, I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to Florida, but it's so hot. So that was the one sport that, you know, my parents put me in all different sports, but that's the one that stuck with me. It was just so, it was always so brutally hot outside. And so I just loved being in the water and everything. So yeah, I pretty much was swimming by the time I was 9 years old. So.
Meredith, who's watching live, says you remind her of Dr. Chilla Varesh at True North, that you guys could be sisters because you're both so pretty.
Oh, tell her thank you. That's
Hey,
so nice.
now I wanted to say I really like your name, just because I love peacocks and, you know, I love rainbows. And there's somebody named Corey Peacock watching. Any relative or friend?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's my mom.
That's nice. That's great. That's terrific.
Yeah,
I'm sure she's so proud of you. Got, you know, that, why swimming though? I mean, to me, I get so cold in the water. Like, what is it about swimming that you like?
So, you know, I think a lot of people would say they find it boring because, you know, is the two, I was when I was swimming at my like peak fitness, I was swimming between 4 and 5 hours a day. So it was about 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours at night, occasionally those 2.5 hour practices. But, and you're just basically staring at a black line at the bottom of the pool. And, you know, a lot of people would say it was boring, but it was so meditative for me. And I felt like it was my one place to escape. I mean, I've always had a great life. There's nothing to escape, but it was just so great for me to be able to just zen out. And I, even during main sets and everything during practices, I'd even have my teammates, they'd say, why are you're always so quiet when you're swimming? But it was just my way of kind of escaping. And I just loved it. And yeah, the water, I definitely would say that was probably my least favorite part. I trained really hard, but I was probably the last person to get in the pool because it was always just that first initial jump in. It was just so cold. So yeah, but that would probably be why I loved it so much. It was just so meditative.
If you were swimming for 4 hours a day, did you get incredibly hungry?
Yes. Yes. I was always hungry. I felt like I could never satiate myself.
Yeah. I assuming if you work at True North, you're probably on a plant-based diet?
Yes. 100%.
And were you on one before you came to True North?
Yes. Before I came to True North, I became plant-based in, is it 2017? So I've been plant-based for 3 years now. But prior to that, I had never even considered or heard of a plant-based diet or the benefits of it. So while I was a competitive swimmer, which is up until the year of 2016, I was not plant-based at all. I completely fueled myself on, you know, everything that you hear on the media and the commercials with chocolate milk and whey protein and all those different things that I thought were good for me. So I wish I was plant-based when I was a swimmer, but I wasn't.
Well, I was going to say that would have been that was those 2 seconds, Stephanie.
You have no idea how many times I've thought that.
So what made you decide to become plant-based?
So it was interesting. So it was a year into chiropractic school. And I was just chatting with one of my friends that I had just started to become friends with. His name's Tony. And I had no idea that he was actually plant-based. And so we were just chatting and he just nonchalantly says to me, yeah, can you believe that diabetes, it's actually caused a lot from animal products. It's not really caused from all the sugars and everything that you hear the media talk about. And I stopped him and I was like, what are you talking about? And he, you know, then that's when he kind of started to get into more detail with me. And it was the first I'd ever heard of it. And so I went home and I told my husband, and we watched all the documentaries, Forks Over Knives and What the Health and everything. And, you know, I researched it, you know, I started listening to podcasts, Rich Roll podcasts specifically. And then we were just completely blown away and we were like, oh my gosh. So then we basically, from that point forward, I remember the day specifically, we got a big box and we threw out everything that we had that had any animal products in it and just started fresh. But that's what got me into a plant-based diet, was just talking with my friend at school.
That's neat. Did you notice any difference? Because obviously you had good health before you were, I mean, just based on your fitness, I'm sure you felt great. Did you feel any differently switching to plants?
Yes. Because I love exercising. I love hiking and surfing. And I still try to I still swim actually a couple of times a week, not 24 hours a week, but 2 hours a week. And so I notice a huge difference in my recovery. am not sore for nearly as long as I used to be when I was training before. I have way more energy. I sleep better at night. And these are all things that would have been so beneficial for me as an athlete. And I really wish that I had taken that step towards a plant-based diet when I was an athlete.
So you're in Santa Rosa. Do you swim where do you swim at the Y?
No. Well, when I was here for my internship in January, I did swim at the YMCA, but no, actually there's a center called the Ridgeway Aquatic Center. It's like half a mile away from True North, and it's a beautiful outdoor facility right now. So yeah.
Nice. What's this? One of the reasons it's like with swimming, you got to always like do your hair. I mean, well, you have beautiful hair. I always felt like the chlorine just didn't agree with my skin and my hair. Do you have any secrets for people that want to swim, but that's their reason not to get in the pool?
Yeah. It's interesting. I've never felt that it does anything with my hair. But I do know some people that feel that it really does bother their hair a lot. And as for the skin, for the dry skin, I have noticed that actually is something that it affects me, is with it makes my skin really dry. And so I actually use a little bit of shea butter is what I use. And that kind of helps a lot with moisturizing my skin. But
that's great. Megan says Stephanie and her husband are the reason my husband and I went plant-based. So
oh, that's my best friend.
Oh, you've got family and friends watching. I love when the guests tell people to watch. That's fantastic. So what made you decide to go to chiropractic school in general and then to end up working at True North in particular?
Yeah. So as a swimmer, with the many hours that you're swimming, 24 hours a week, and that's not even including the going into the gym and having to weight lift, and then the dry land routines, the running, all the different things that we're doing, such repetitive motions. So I would get injured quite a few times. And so my freshman year in college at Chapel Hill, I actually had an injury that was going to keep me out of the water for months. And the doctors told me that I wouldn't be able to potentially even compete at the World University Games, which was going to be in China that summer. And so I was completely distraught. And it was actually an injury that I had to my rib, and it would cause me to not be able to take deep breaths in. I had a hard time taking strokes in the water, even getting myself out of the pool. It was so painful. And the doctors diagnosed it as a rib fracture. So that's why they said I can't even do anything so that I would be able to heal. And so I went home that summer from Chapel Hill, and I met this doctor who has a PhD in sports medicine, and he did active release techniques. And so he actually, I went and saw him, and he basically diagnosed it as it was just a lot of the muscles in that specific area, the intercostal muscles, that were really, really tight and were actually starting to have like a bit of a strain and had some scar tissue that developed around the area. So he did active release techniques, which is a soft tissue based technique, which basically gets rid of the scar tissue. And so he performed that technique on me. And then I asked him, okay, so when can I get back in the water to train? He said, tomorrow. And I said, I was completely blown away because doctors had told me probably wouldn't even be able to compete that summer. And so that's what got me into chiropractic school, was because my eyes were open to this conservative medicine. I had never seen any chiropractors before. I had never been treated that way. And so that really was amazing to me, because I was so distraught. How many other people had been in my position before that maybe wouldn't have been able to compete, or, and I was just so lucky. So that really opened my eyes, and I knew I wanted to get into conservative medicine. And so throughout my swimming career, I started to see different chiropractors, and I realized how great they were in treating my body and helping me to get to the point that I needed to get to with my sport. And so that's what got me into chiropractic school.
Okay. But what got you to True North?
Oh, sorry. Okay. Sorry. So then to True North was while I was, after my friend Tony had told me about all the plant-based nutrition and everything, after we looked into it and became plant-based, when I was listening to all the podcasts and even What the Health and everything, and all the documentaries, that's when I had heard of True North Health Center. And so, but I didn't realize at the time, I just heard of it in different podcasts, but I hadn't realized that, it was this big facility that had all these different chiropractors and naturopaths and acupuncturists and medical doctors that were integratively working together to help these patients. So the more I looked into it, I realized that, oh my gosh, it was started by Dr. Goldhamer, who's a chiropractor, and that they had all these different doctors here. And so for about 2 years, it was my dream to work here. And so that's how I heard of True North Health Center. And about a year ago, I realized that they had an internship program. So I signed up for the internship. I was here in January of 2020. And then I got hired about a week into the internship. So
you're kind of a newbie there.
Yes, I'm the newest staff member.
Oh, do you like working there, and do you like the food?
Yes, I love working here, and it's a dream to be here because to have the food here in the dining hall. It's completely 100% plant-based, salt, oil, sugar-free, and I don't have to cook. It's amazing.
You don't have to cook, but you do cook, right?
Yes, I actually love cooking. Yeah. And so on my weekends off, I usually I cook here with my husband at our home.
Yeah, I want to talk more about that, but I don't want to miss the question that's just been asked by a live viewer. Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it? I assume they mean in terms of, they say exercise and muscle, things like that.
Oh, if you don't use it, you lose it. Yes. So if you're on a plant-based diet, you're going to be completely healthy and you're going to be totally fine. But in terms of muscle, yes, you do need to be exercising, and especially with muscle resistance exercising, such as strength training with weights or with resistance bands, are the best way to basically keep your muscle on. So yeah, you do need to use it.
Yeah. I think that probably applies to your brain too.
I would agree with that.
So you cook on the weekends. What do you guys make? And
oh, we make a lot of different things. So I've used a lot of your recipes, and I actually love Kathy Fisher's recipes too. I love making a lot of soups because Northern California, it actually still gets pretty chilly up here, even in the summertime. So we still make a little bit, some soups and everything at night. But my favorite thing to do is I actually love making salt, oil, sugar-free, plant-based desserts. And usually what I do is I make those. I like to experiment with them. And then I'll bring them to my friends and coworkers at True North.
That's fantastic. Maybe you could fill in for the chefs sometimes.
Yeah, maybe.
That would be kind of fun. So I want you to talk about this active release, because it's not something I've ever heard of until probably a month ago. I've had an injury for 7 months now in my bicep, and Dr. Goldhamer doesn't want me to get a steroid shot, which is like the next step because I'm dying here. He goes, you got to get active release. I'm calling all the chiropractors. I live near Palm Springs, and they don't know what I'm talking about. So what is this? Who does it? And what, I know you can't maybe show it, but can you explain a little bit what it is?
Yeah. So what active release techniques is used for is to diagnose and treat basically muscles, tendons, ligaments, and nerves that have any sort of scar tissue buildup that's around it. And so the way you get scar tissue is through either an acute or a chronic injury to that area. So acute meaning it could be a tear of the muscle, or chronic meaning, let's say you had a desk job and you were just sitting for long periods of time. So it's a repetitive motion that you're doing, that you're sitting in bad posture, right? So basically what happens is your body lays down little adhesions or scar tissue that's dense. It's very dense and fibrous, and it lays down over the muscle. And what happens is that when it lays down, it actually lays down in the opposite direction of your muscle fibers. So it binds down the muscle and prevents oxygen and nutrients and blood flow from getting to the area, and therefore restricting motion, causing pain. And this can happen to any of the muscles, tendons, ligaments, or nerves. So it results in a myriad of symptoms. And what the active release technique is basically what I do is when I see a patient and they tell me what pain they're in, where they're feeling the pain, is I'll put my hands over that area and I ask them to reproduce the motion that causes pain. And so I can feel what we're taught to do is to feel the area and feel maybe where we're feeling that restriction. And then I basically use my manual contact. So I use my thumbs or my fingers to bind down onto the area of the scar tissue. And then I have the patient go through an active motion that stretches that muscle out, or the nerve, or whichever area I'm treating, which will then break up the scar tissue and then allow the muscle to basically be able to move freely again. And that results in reduced symptoms, reduced pain. If it's a nerve entrapment, patients are usually feeling some sort of numbness or tingling in the area. So that's what I'm doing.
How do you figure out that they have the adhesions? Because you can't really, do you feel them? Because that's not something you can probably see on an x-ray.
No, you can't see it on an x-ray. But yes, so what we're basically taught to do in the seminars is basically feeling the area and having them go through the motion that's causing the pain. And you can feel the restriction. You can feel what's not moving. And therefore that tells you where the scar tissue is lying. And so and then when you're kind of getting in there, you can usually feel it. And with the scar tissue, what's happening is that it's usually binding between like different muscle layers, because you have so many muscle layers in the body. And so it's usually preventing other muscles from moving as well. So it's usually not even just one structure. It's usually like a few different structures that you're treating. And there's over 500 protocols that we learn for the body, for all the different muscles. Every muscle has their own unique one. So,
well, people are asking, are you describing something called the Graston Technique? And is this similar to myofascial release?
oh, so the Graston Technique it's similar in the sense that it's actually trying to break up the scar tissue as well, but it's going about a different way. So you're not actually stretching out the muscle or stretching out the ligaments, tendons, nerves, whatever structure you're trying to treat. You're just you're using a tool. It almost looks like a little butter knife, and what you're doing is you're kind of getting in there and you're releasing the scar tissue by actually like rubbing it out. And it's very effective too. I just don't use that treatment. I just use active release techniques.
Does it hurt for the patient to have it done?
Most of the time, yes. Usually I tell the patient, I want it to be around a 6 or a 7 out of 10 when I'm treating them.
Oh my God. How long does it hurt for? Like, does it hurt just when you're doing it, or does it hurt afterwards?
It just hurts when you're doing it. Because afterwards, when you release the tissue, that they usually feel a lot better.
Wow. And how many treatments would a person need?
Typically, I'd say it depends on the condition and maybe how long they've been dealing with it, but usually about 3 to 4 treatments is what they need.
Wow. It sounds painful.
Do you still want to get it done?
Well, I mean, I don't know. It just doesn't sound too fun, actually. So, so do you do other kinds of chiropractic, or is that just your specialty there? Or do you just treat the whole body?
Do you mean at True North?
Yeah, True North.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I'm the only provider here that does active release technique. And then we have another provider that does use the Graston tool too. So I guess you can, pick whichever one you want.
Yeah. Louise says, how is this different from cranial sacral therapy?
I wish I could explain craniosacral a little bit better. From my understanding of it, I understand that you're lying there and you're basically allowing the practitioner to, it involves the cerebrospinal fluid, and it allows it basically, they find areas along the body where maybe it's not flowing as well. And I believe that they're using a lot of energy and techniques to be able to allow that movement back again, to allow your body into that normal rhythm. I wish I could describe it a little bit better. I don't know a lot about it, but I know it's very effective. And we have a couple practitioners here at True North Health Center that do use it.
So Megan's saying that she needs this, what you're talking about, done for her sciatic pain. So how do we find somebody that does this?
Yeah, so it's really great. What you can do is you can go to activereleasetechniques.com. It's their homepage. And so when you go to the homepage, you'll see a tab at the top right that says find a provider. Click on that tab, and then it allows you to type in your zip code. And what you do, type in your zip code, and then practitioners in your area will pop up.
But how do we know? Okay, so I did that, but how do we know if they're good?
Yeah, unfortunately, I guess to know that they're good, you probably would need a referral for someone to tell you that they are. But for most of the active release techniques providers should be really good, because they have gone through all the seminars and they should understand the anatomy and physiology of the body really well and be able to use that to help you. So.
Right. Is there a chance that it could make a problem worse? Because it doesn't sound like a massage. In other words, like, hey, this sounds great.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not a massage. It's because the massage, it's more general and just kind of focused, just like you're relaxing, right? And you're just kind of letting the massage therapist be able to just kind of get in there and deeply like rub out all the different muscles and tendons and everything. But what's unique to the active release technique is that it's actually isolating each individual structure, including the nerves and the ligaments and the tendons and everything, and to be able to treat the area. So yeah, it's definitely not going to be as comfortable, but it's very effective.
Cool. Karen says, are you familiar with Osteostrong, and would you recommend it?
Oh, I wish I could or could not recommend it. I actually am not familiar with Osteostrong. Okay. Sorry.
When you stopped swimming competitively, you weren't as, I'm interested because I know people that swim, you burn so many calories and you have to eat so much. And I'm thinking if you were on a plant-based diet, it might've even been more challenging because the food is so much lower in calories. Did your appetite dial down when you stopped swimming as much?
Initially, no. Probably because I was so used to my rhythm of eating so much. So I kept exercising a lot. But yeah, probably about 6 months after I retired, I started noticing that my appetite was decreasing and decreasing. And I wasn't hungry all the time. I was able to just eat my 3 meals a day and not feel like I needed to snack a ton in between or anything like that. But it is interesting though. I would have loved to have, like I said, have been on a plant-based diet while I was an athlete. It would have been very fun to play with the combinations of the foods that I could eat. And yeah, like I understand that the caloric density for a lot of the foods aren't as high as obviously the animal products, but it can definitely be done. And there's so many athletes that are now starting to go onto a plant-based diet, even some that have been Olympians already, which is fantastic. So
yeah, that's incredible. Well, you never struggled with weight, I imagine.
No, actually, freshman 15, I don't know if you've heard of that, but yeah, I think it was like freshman 20 when I first, because the dining hall, as soon as I walked into my dining hall, the desserts were there. It was the cookies, the cakes, everything. And they didn't actually even give us any structure with it. So they're just like, yeah, just go out and eat whatever you want. You're burning so many calories that you can eat whatever you want. And that's what they're always telling athletes these days. So I definitely took that to heart. So I did. But yeah.
So did you have to get rid of it somehow? And how did you get rid of it? Because everybody I know wants to lose weight.
Yeah. So fortunately for me, because I hadn't switched to a plant-based diet then. So fortunately for me, I had swimming to help me. So once I realized that I was just overeating, I just made sure to cut back on the sweets and, stick with my 3 meals a day and not try to snack so much. And I just kept swimming, and swimming itself was burning so many calories every day. So, and I was young. So I was probably 18, 19. So it was easy to come off, I suppose, but yeah.
And was most of your swimming outdoor swimming?
Yes. Yeah. Well, so growing up in Florida, yes. And then when I went to Chapel Hill, it was indoor swimming. And then when I moved to California, it was outdoor swimming again, which I prefer. I like being outdoors.
Well, why do they keep the pools so cold? We have, well, not right now because of the pandemic, but we have 2 Olympic sized pools here. I live in an active senior community, indoor and outdoor. And they keep it so cold, in my opinion.
Yes, I think they keep it cold too. They keep the pools here that I've been swimming at cold as well. I think it's because what they're doing is when you're getting into your rhythm and you're training, the cold water starts to feel good because you're really working hard in the pool. So I think that's why they're doing it. Because I've noticed if I'm getting into a pool and it feels comfortable to me, I know that during my workout, I'm going to be very uncomfortable, even though it feels good when I'm first getting in.
Oh, that's interesting. Apple, who's watching live, asks, I'm a mental health somatic therapist, and when getting into long-held postural patterns and scar tissues, a lot of emotions are released. Does Dr. Peacock witness this with active release as well?
Yes. That's one of the greatest parts of treating patients with this technique is that once you're getting rid of that area that's binding down all these muscles and tendons and ligaments, especially if these patients have been dealing with it for so long, because a lot of these can cause headaches and just like sciatica for what Megan had said, and a lot of these pains that just can't go away. And I see emotional releases with it. And it feels so good to be able to help patients get through these chronic issues that they've been dealing with for so long. So yeah.
Have you ever treated Dr. Goldhamer? I would love to have somebody inflict pain on him. I'm just kidding, of course.
I know, right? No, I'm just kidding. So actually, I did treat him once. It was actually when I went into his office that day during my internship. I had been interning for about a week, and I went into his office asking him actually for a job. I said, well, this is my dream place. I would love to work here if you have an opening. And he's like, oh yeah, sure. And so he's like, here, show me what you got. So we went into his treatment room, and then I treated him with active release technique because he'd never been treated with it before. So
did he scream?
No, he did not.
Darn.
I know.
That would. So what do you eat all day now?
Well, depending on what they have at the dining hall, but usually, and at the dining hall, it's fantastic. They have a 24/7 hour raw salad bar, which is great. And that's my favorite part. I love going in there and grabbing the salads. They always have fresh cut up fruits and everything like that. But for breakfast, I prefer to eat oatmeal. I just love oatmeal with some just like plain oats. And they always have two different kinds of oatmeal at True North. So they have plain and they have one that's maybe sweetened with like a fruit juice or something like that. But I prefer the plain. I'll put a little cinnamon, a banana in it. And that's usually what I like to eat. And with a side of veggies, they always have steamed veggies. So that's usually what I eat for breakfast. And then for lunch, depending on if I'm home or not home, but I actually love potatoes for lunch.
Yeah, that's my favorite too. I find a lot of times when I've been at True North, that's like they don't serve as many potatoes. It seems like it's beans, beans, beans at every meal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd agree with that. They definitely love their beans. My favorite of their beans is actually their Christmas beans. I had actually never heard of them before. They're like these flat beans. They're a little bit rounder and bigger. They're delicious. But yeah, usually I prefer potatoes. So sometimes if I'm really in the mood for that and I see that they don't have any, I'll usually just come home and have a Japanese sweet potato.
Oh my God, that's what I had. Last night I did a special for the holistic holiday at home, and I took the Japanese sweet potato and I put banana and jackfruit ice cream made in the Champion in it with macerated berries on top. It was like the most delicious thing I've ever eaten.
Oh, banana and jackfruit.
Yeah. So I was making banana ice cream with the Champion. And then, when you change fruit, there's still going to be half of what was still in the gears. So then I put in the frozen jackfruit, and then I stuffed it in the already cooked Japanese sweet potatoes. And I put on raspberries, blackberries, and blueberries that had been macerated in California balsamic vinegar. And it was off the charts.
That sounds like heaven.
It was
all my favorite things.
It was so good. Have you tried the California balsamic vinegars?
Yes. It's funny that you mentioned that because I just went to the Windsor Farmers Market this past Sunday to go pick up like 6 bottles of them. I am obsessed with California balsamic.
Well, that's good because the 6 bottles will very soon become 8 bottles because for being a guest on this show, you get to choose 2 free samples and we're going to send them to you. So how do you like that?
Oh my God, I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to tell people that because I don't want them to just come on the show for free vinegar, but our friend Thomas Allen from Ukiah sponsors the show and he does that. Unfortunately, you have to live in the United States. We do get some guests from other countries and that is what it is. So that's terrific. Dr. Goldhamer's wife, Dr. Jennifer Morano, likes the vinegars, but he won't eat them because he says they're just like soda pop. And so he actually talked on the phone to Thomas, and Thomas is going to try to create the same idea with the ones that aren't reduced to lower the calories for the patients for whom that would be important.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay.
Yeah. So which flavors do you have? And then, I'll see if I can help round out your selection.
Oh my gosh. My 2 favorite right now, I haven't tried all of them, but my 2 favorite are Sweet Heat and the Gilroy Garlic.
That is so funny. Sweet Heat is, I think, their #1 bestseller. And that's one of my favorites too.
Oh, great. Yeah. And I've had the teriyaki balsamic, which I really like, but I haven't had it in a little while. I just tried their chocolate orange. That was fantastic. That's great on top of a white Japanese sweet potato. Love that. And then, I think they just came out with a new one. It's like their ruby onion one. I can't remember
Ruby red onion.
Yeah. Ruby red onion. And it's delicious. I mean, I've tried most of them.
Have you tried curry yet?
Yes, I have. I actually just got a sample of that one.
Right.
And I just went and it's delicious.
Yeah. He has a new flavor coming out August 1st called 7 Herb Italian that I think is going to knock your socks off. I'm going to be doing a demo on Sunday and releasing it on Wednesday, the video of what you can do with it. And I predicted to him that I think it's going to be his biggest seller because it can be used in place of salad dressing. It's really like Italian dressing. It tastes like it has oil and sugar and salt. And every time I eat it, I text him, I go, "Are you sure you didn't put that in here?"
That's amazing. That'll be a real game changer too, if people can use it in place of a salad dressing.
I think so. So yeah, that's great. You guys have any more questions for Dr. Stephanie Peacock? That's such a cute name because you got an animal name,
Thank you. Yes. I love my last name. Thank you.
I do. I love it too. I thought that, well, you're just delightful. I'm just sorry that I'm not at True North anymore. I wasn't there very often, a few weeks a year, but my holiday program got canceled because it got so popular with the fasting. Do you get involved with the fasting aspect of it or you?
Yes, I do. So what I love about my job is that I get to do a few different things. And so one of the things that I get to do is I round on the water fasting patients 4 times a week. So I get to go in and that basically includes just checking in on them. So we go into their room and we're just making sure that they're doing okay. And, there's various questions that we're asking. We're just making and feeling their pulse, which is the best thing, the closest thing that you can get to feeling how a patient is actually feeling. So we're just, assessing them, like, are they good? Can they go another day? how are they feeling? So I do that 4 times a week, which I really love doing. And I actually will be doing my first water fast in October for 10 days. So I am very
But
excited.
Why
am I doing it? So
in 10 days? I mean, you've never water fasted. Why do 10 days the first time?
Yeah. So it was just a number that I had in my head. I thought 10 days sounded good. And I talked to Dr. Goldhamer, and I had melanoma 2.5, 3 years ago. And so I asked him what he thinks that I should do, like how long I should go for. And he said probably between 7, 8 days. And then I don't know, 10 days sounded like a good number because it's double digits. And I don't know, it sounded like a cool accomplishment. Any amount of fasting to me is an accomplishment, even if someone goes for one day, because I've never fasted before. So I'm thinking one day to me without food and everything, that's amazing. So, but I'm going to try for 10, minimum 7.
Man, you are really driven. I mean, I don't want to say you're crazy, but I mean, if you have a real medical reason. So melanoma, is that skin cancer?
Yes, that was skin cancer. Yeah.
Was it from being outside in the sun swimming?
Yes, it was. Yeah. Yeah. But I developed it a year after I retired from swimming, weirdly enough, but I was still kind of going to the pool, but even though it was just a couple times a week, but still training and everything on my own. So
is that common in swimmers?
It's actually not that common. So it was pretty interesting that I actually, that I did develop it, but I did, and I caught it in time. It was just type 1A. It was the earliest stage. And I had been seeing a dermatologist just because I was swimming outdoors so much. So it was lucky.
Well, good luck with the 10-day fast. I've never fasted more than a day, and it wasn't on purpose. And it just was not fun.
Thank you.
Yeah. Fasting makes active release sound pretty good.
I know. Yeah. It's like pick your poison.
Yeah. Jesse says, since Stephanie was an athlete in such good shape, did she notice any changes physically after going whole food plant-based in 2017?
Yes, I did. So I actually had noticed that what I felt was, after I retired, I felt like I was still having a lot of my hunger cravings, but I felt like with the animal products that I was eating, I wasn't able to feel as physically fit as I used to be able to, because I was training so much. And I went from training, 20 plus hours a week to, doing normal 30, 45 minutes a day at most, 5 or 6 days a week. And so I felt like I wasn't as fit, I guess you could say, as I used to be. And so once I went whole food plant-based, I noticed a huge difference. I felt I was able to eat a lot more, and I was able to satiate my hunger. And then I also felt like the food tasted better. And another thing that I also noticed was that I felt I was able to feel leaner and toner with eating that food, because I was eating such good sources of like the carbohydrates and the protein and everything, as opposed to the high saturated fat and cholesterol content of a lot of the animal products. So I felt like I was able to eat more and I guess way less, as you say.
That's terrific. Yeah. Linda wants to know if you have any pets.
I do. I have a cat. His name's Samson, and he's not around here right now, but he's here.
You ever do active release on him?
No, but it's funny. I actually, one of my friends that I went to chiropractic school with, he actually told me that if he feels like his cat, is looking a little off or something, he actually will give him like little massages. And I had always joked with him, like, oh, maybe I could try active release technique on my cat, but I don't think he would actually, I don't think he'd stand it for very long.
That's funny. Amber says, as an athlete in the plant-based world, does she notice that her patients need encouragement to incorporate fitness into their lives, or does this crowd embrace health in all ways?
At True North, if they're embracing, yeah. So I feel like they're embracing it in all ways. I feel like a lot of them they're just, such focused on getting past a lot of their chronic lifestyle diseases and everything. And so that's usually like the main focus, and they're excited. They get very excited thinking of the possibility of exercising and not getting injured a lot, because a lot of these chronic lifestyle diseases, what they're doing is they're like really causing so much inflammation in the body. And so by treating it first with the diet and then being able to get in exercise again, that's usually kind of the path that they go on. And it's really exciting to see them start to decrease all that inflammation. I mean, and when the patients then they leave True North, they look like completely different people. They just have this light about them because they just got rid of all that inflammation.
Absolutely. You mentioned what you eat during the week because you're at True North working. Lori wanted to know what your menu is for the week. So what do you do on the weekends when you don't have the chefs to prepare your food?
Yeah. I would say when we first went plant-based, we felt like we had to make all these different recipes and everything. And it almost felt a little complicated. We were trying to compensate, I think, for what we used to make, instead of burgers, it's sweet potato black bean burgers or, all these different recipes. But now we've gone so far into being plant-based that we honestly just love like steaming up like a couple of potatoes and then steaming up some different veggies. And we just keep it very basic. And honestly, like I mentioned before, my favorite food in this entire planet is a Japanese sweet potato. Yeah. So we buy so many of those, and I'll just usually make different recipes with that. I can make a mash with like some corn inside of it, I drizzle some of that California balsamic on top of it, or I just eat it just completely plain. And I usually steam up some Brussels sprouts or broccoli or something alongside of it. There's a lot of corn right now because it's summer. And so we go to the farmers markets and we just see what we can find, like some squash and everything like that. And just whatever is in the house and we just are in the mood for, we usually cook up.
Well, it sounds like you eat like me. Maybe you'll come back next time and do a cooking demo and show us one of the desserts you make.
Oh, I would love to.
That would be great. People love that. Meredith wants to know how you and your husband met.
So we met, actually, swimming is what brought us together. So that summer that I mentioned that I had gotten injured and was diagnosed as a rib fracture, when I went home that summer because of it. And he was actually lifeguarding at the pool that I was swimming at. So that's actually how we met. Was at the pool.
You made a big splash.
Apparently.
Oh, that is hilarious. Yeah, you're fun. I would go to you. I'd let you torture me if I could get up there.
Well, thank you. I think that's why people come and see me. They think I'm nice.
Yeah. Well, until you start that active release. This is great.
I usually try to warn patients. I tell them it's not going to be comfortable, but they say, if you can get rid of my pain, then okay. So
I think she might have answered this, Robin, but I'll ask, which swim stroke was your best competitively? Which was your favorite? Also, how do you feel about being immersed in a pool with chlorine for so many hours?
Yeah. So my best swim stroke, I was a distance freestyler. And so my best swim stroke was the 800 meter freestyle. And that's what I had just missed the Olympic team in. And then that was in meters. And then in yards was the 1650, which is the mile. It's actually the longest pool swim race that you can do. And I actually broke the longest standing record in the NCAA books in that event, actually. Was my first year swimming that race. And so it was usually the longest races were my best. And then I did the 10K in open water, which is about a 2-hour race. And being immersed in chlorine, I don't love it. But I would say that the pool that I've been swimming at here, the Ridgeway Aquatic Center, they actually use half bromine and half chlorine, which has been a lot nicer. So I'm not usually a big fan of the smell of the chlorine and being in it, but I just love swimming so much that usually overrides it for me. So.
Who's your favorite professional swimmer?
Oh, my favorite professional swimmer? Actually, it's my close friend, Ashley Twitchell. And she actually made the Olympic team for this year in open water. She would have competed if they had the Olympic Games this summer, because the trials for open water is actually a year before the Olympics. It's not the summer before. So she's one of 2 athletes that made the Olympics in the US. And but she'll be able to compete next year in it. And she had tried for the Olympic team and had missed it just like I did in the 3rd place position for 3 consecutive years. And then this one, she finally made it. So it's exciting.
Why not go back? Because, I mean, think about it. Do you know Dotsie Boyd, from Switch for Good? She was in Game Changers. I mean, your diet's different now. Why not go back?
I think it's just because I like I said, I wish with all my heart that I could have been plant-based when I swam. But I did it for so many years, for 16 years. And I have to say, what I do for my work now is actually more fulfilling than swimming ever was for me. And swimming was very fulfilling. I loved every second of it, but I love being able to help people towards this path of, decreasing their inflammation, getting over their injuries, getting over their chronic diseases. And that is so much more fulfilling to me, and being able to help people. And I mean, my dream one day is, I want to stay here at True North and be able to maybe open up a farm sanctuary at some point and be able to help rescued animals. And so I'm kind of working towards all these other goals right now too. So that's kind of my dream.
That's amazing. I always wondered what make people decide. I mean, there's basically 4 strokes, right? The freestyle, backstroke, breaststroke, and butterfly. Is that about it?
Mm-hmm.
I always wondered what made people decide, because like, to me, like backstroke is like, that's like so stupid. I mean, not stupid, but like, it's just so weird, like, because and breaststroke is, if I had to pick, I like butterfly. Like for me, that was the funnest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's kind of funny. You actually don't get to pick, like as the athlete, you honestly the event that you're placed into is what you just naturally are good at. So, growing up, you get put into all the different events and you see where your time ranks with all the other athletes. And your coach really is the one that sees that. And then they're like, okay, this is definitely like your best thing. So you're going to be training for this. And unfortunately for me, mine was the distance freestyle, which I did not want, because that's like the hardest one to train for, because you're just having to, for the distance, you have to like do the distance to train for it. So I always wished I was a sprinter, but I was not. But my favorite stroke actually was butterfly too. I had always wanted to be a butterflyer, but I wasn't. So
yeah, I don't know what it is. Like, I mean, not that I even swim, but it's just that there was something fun about it. It just felt like your whole body was.
Yeah, I can completely relate. I loved butterfly.
Yeah, I didn't realize that you had to do other exercise other than just swimming. I would have thought that would be enough, but you said you were running, you were lifting weights, so that's a lot.
Yeah. It was, you'd have morning workouts, like swimming workouts that were like an hour to an hour and a half long. And then, in the middle of the day, go to the gym, and we'd have about an hour of weightlifting, and then go to a 2-hour swim workout at the end of the day. And the days that we didn't do a weight workout in the middle, we'd have a dry land workout, which was usually some sort of running, using medicine balls, plyometric type of workouts.
I think I offended people by saying backstroke is stupid. That wasn't the word I meant. It's just weird to me. Like, cause I don't know why. It just seems weird, but sorry. Yeah. I didn't mean to offend that. That was not the best choice of words. So I apologize for that. Do you still lift today and run today, or is just the 2 hours of swimming a week your main source of workout?
Yeah, I actually have a Peloton bike. And so, which has been very useful for the pandemic. So, but yeah, I have a Peloton. I actually really enjoy indoor cycling. That's something that I picked up when I was living. So I was living in Orange County before we moved here to Northern California, where True North Health Center is. And there's a lot of great facilities that you can go to for indoor cycling. And that's what I really enjoyed, being in that community. So that's what got me into it. And then I ended up getting a Peloton bike. So that's what I usually use for my workouts is cycling. And then, yes, I go swimming a few times a week.
I don't have a Peloton. I have a Kaiser, because I just didn't see the point of spending all the money. Plus, I'm not going to do the class. Like, I do my own thing, because then I can watch what I want, So do you actually do the Peloton where you're in the class and doing it along with the people?
Yes. Yeah. So the live workouts, yeah, I do those. And then they have all if you don't make the live class, then they actually have them like pre-recorded, which is really nice. So I'll do that if I'm just not in the mood to like have myself sign up for a class. So
yeah. Okay. Really. So Infinite Love and Gratitude said that she knew what I meant, that I meant it was an unnatural movement. Like, nobody jumps in a pool backwards. Like, no animal would ever swim backwards. You know what I mean? So it just, that's what I meant. That's so, here's a great question. Oh, it's going so fast now. Sorry. About what after a strenuous workout, let's see. What your favorite thing to eat was after a strenuous workout?
Currently, or when I was swimming?
I guess both, until I can find the comment, which disappeared very quickly.
I'm ashamed to say that my favorite thing to eat after a workout, before I was plant-based, was I would have pasta with chicken or some sort of meat product in it. That was my absolute favorite thing to do, and just put a lot of cheese on it and just make it as obviously disgusting as it sounds. And then, but right now, what I personally love to do, usually potatoes, usually some sort of bean, something that's has a little bit higher protein. So I'll usually have a little bit of like beans and like rice, and like I love to put a little bit of an avocado in it. And that's usually one of my favorite meals to have after a workout.
Nice. So do you find that workouts fuel your hunger or suppress your hunger? Because I hear different people say things with exercise. Some people actually feel that when they work out, even in a spin, they're thirsty, but they're not as hungry. And other people, like, God, I'm starving the minute they get off the bike.
Yeah, that's funny you mentioned that, because I was just I was chatting with some of my coworkers about that, because some people feel that that working out actually really suppresses their hunger, but for me, it actually ignites my hunger. It makes me very hungry. So
That's okay. Well, we should listen to our bodies then.
exactly, that's exactly what I think, is just listening to your body. So
Because I had a bodybuilder on, Danny Taylor, this week, and she says she likes to eat before her workouts, but other people just can't. So
yeah, I usually work out in the mornings, and because actually I can't eat like at least 2 hours prior to a workout, just because it'll just make me feel a little bit nauseous. I was always like that with swimming too. I just had to make sure that I timed it right, so that if it was the morning, I just didn't eat before I worked out. But if it was afternoon, I made sure my lunch was at least 2 hours before. But in terms of just hunger, I usually work out in the mornings now, and I'm usually pretty hungry throughout the rest of the day.
what's the longest you've ever swam for without stopping?
Without stopping. It's definitely over 2 hours, because the 10K races, the open water races, they take at least 2 hours, sometimes a little bit longer. And that's just like you're in some sort of open water venue. So it was a lake, an ocean, wherever they had us. And they had the buoys set up, and you just basically do these large loops around in packs of people. And so the 10K, 2 hour race. That's about it.
But don't you have to pee? That's the other thing I don't like about swimming. It's like, it doesn't matter if I just pee. The minute I get in water, I feel like I got to pee.
Really? That's so funny. Yeah. I mean, I guess during the race, I never really felt like I had to. I always made sure that I tried to pee before. But yeah. And so, but yeah, that's definitely true. If you do have to in the middle of a race, that's really unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, I guess you just got to go, right? What can you do? It's another type of active release.
Exactly.
Just think of it that way. Apple says, does Dr. Peacock suggest any supplements for joint support?
Supplements for joint support. So personally, I actually, there's no supplements that I personally recommend. I actually just think trying to stick with the whole food plant-based diet is the best thing that you can do for yourself. For me, I believe with supplements, I think they all have like their time and their place and everything, but it's such an isolated form of the nutrient, usually with most supplements. And so as opposed to getting it in that whole compound, like food form. So I usually suggest probably sticking with the whole food plant-based diet.
Nice. A lot of people are mentioning, like, for example, Suzanne said, what do you think about the chlorine? She's 75. She'd like to get back to swimming. Couldn't they figure a way out to, what is the purpose of the harsh chemicals? Because, when you swim in the ocean, there's other stuff, of course, but there's no chlorine. So where did that begin? And can't they make it less harsh so that we could enjoy that aspect more?
Yeah. So like I said earlier, where I'm swimming at now, it's like half salt and half chlorinated. So I've noticed a huge difference in how that's actually made me feel. I don't feel like I have that chlorine smell. I don't even smell it actually. Like I rarely notice it like I used to be able to. So I think they're using it just to basically keep the pool very clean, because there's so many people that are going through it. So they're just trying to kill off anything. And so, yeah, I have heard more pools starting to switch more to like a half salt, half chlorinated pool, or I've heard of pools that actually are completely all salt pools. And I think that would be really great if we could all switch to that, because I think that's totally healthy and better.
You don't have any friends that are on the backstroke that are going to watch this, and I'm going to get in trouble for what I said. I guess I could edit it. I really, because I'm an Aries, double Aries, and sometimes my mouth talks faster than my brain thinks. And it's interesting because one of the people I interviewed, and I'm actually interviewing his wife in a couple of weeks. And he used to actually work at True North as a chiropractor. His name is Dr. Rick Dina, and his wife is Dr. Karen Dina. And they both still practice in the Santa Rosa area, and they promote a raw diet. And the first year that I did the holiday extravaganza at True North, I believe it would have been 2011, he was one of the guest lecturers. And he's talking about raw. And I like literally came out of my mouth like, oh, raw fooders are crazy. And I didn't exactly mean it that way, but apparently he remembered it, because 9 years later, when I was wanting to interview him for my summit, we had a conversation on the phone, and he reminded me that I had said that. And I was so embarrassed. So anyway, if anything I have said offended anyone, I'm just saying right now, I apologize. Backstroke is not stupid. It is a wonderful stroke.
It's funny.
So what's it like working with Dr. Goldhamer? He is just, I adore him, and I love his sense of humor. Whenever I was there, he would eat all of his meals with patience. I find him hilarious. What's it like working with him?
Oh, I find him hilarious too. I think he's great. he's got to be probably the best boss. He's so great. He's just so giving. He's basically let me just do what I want with my chiropractic world. He's just said, they're your patients. You treat them the way that you want to treat them. And I love that. And he's just been really, really great. He's so passionate about helping patients and people getting out of their inflammation, healing. So it's been fantastic working for him.
We have a plant-based superstar watching live. His name is Robert Cheek. I don't know if you've heard of him, a vegan bodybuilder, and he hosts the Holistic Holiday Cruise at home version that we're doing now. And one of the things that you might like, because you love the water and you love spinning, is underwater spinning. Have you ever done it? It's fabulous.
No. What? I haven't even heard of it.
Oh my God. I did it on the cruise. So I was one of the speakers on the Holistic Holiday at Sea. It is so fun because here you are in the middle of the Caribbean with, you can, because that's the thing about swimming. You don't really have much of a view, right? I mean, let's face it, you're looking at a black line. So you can see all the beauty around you. You're on a spin bike, but you're underwater and you get such a better workout because, you don't feel how hard you're working.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh, I've never heard of it. Where can you do that anywhere else?
Well, you probably have to Google it. I mean, I tried to look for it in LA and I couldn't find it, but isn't that great? I mean, doesn't it sound like a lot of fun?
That sounds amazing. Yeah, that sounds like my two favorite things combined.
I'll tell you what, you Google active release and find where I can go here, and I'll Google underwater spinning and I'll see if I can find you something. It's so funny. I'm meeting you for the first time and I feel like we've been friends for years. Like you're very easy to talk to.
Oh, thank you, Chef AJ. I feel the same way about you.
Yeah. Cause sometimes as an interviewer, when you get somebody that doesn't talk, it's like, come on, say something.
Pulling it out of them.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah. Oh, well, Louise says New York City has an aqua studio. That's a little far for both of us, but yeah, that's,
maybe in California one day, that'd be nice.
Maybe you could open one right next to your farm sanctuary.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah. Well, you're so young, man, to be so vibrant and passionate and know what you know at your age. You're going to have an amazing life. I can tell you that right now.
Thank you so much. I feel very blessed that I ended up here at True North, and I don't plan on leaving anytime soon.
Wow. Well, I would love you to come back. And even it doesn't have to be a whole hour, just a couple of the recipes that you make on the weekends. I know people would love to see that. There's a question from cooked or raw. Food.
I'm sorry. If I prefer cooked or raw,
or maybe he when it's just an initial. I don't know if it's a lady or a man, but he or she is probably asking what is healthier.
Oh, I think that they're both healthy. Because I actually do make some raw desserts too. I'll combine some. It's actually Dr. Greger actually has a really great raw brownie recipe that it involves it's walnuts, almond butter, dates, and cacao, and you blend it in a food processor, and then you just put it in the fridge to chill. And actually, that's one of my favorite things to make. Sometimes it's just something. It's very simple as opposed to baking it. So I think that eating foods in their raw form are healthy too, but you get so many benefits from eating foods that are cooked, like mushrooms. Like you need to get by cooking the mushrooms, that's how you get the essential vitamins and nutrients out of that food group. So it's depending on the food. But I think it's great to actually have a mix of having some raw food, but with also some steamed food and cooked food too. So
I agree, because I have nothing against raw fooders, but man, you got to eat a lot more calories and a lot more volume. And I already eat a lot of volume, so I just can't imagine eating any more than I do now.
Oh my gosh, I can't imagine either. Yeah, I already eat a lot too.
Right. So Apple's saying they have something called aqua yoga. I haven't tried it, but that also sounds fabulous. And here is a nice question from Billy. Especially for swimming, what kind of body and skincare, hair care products do you look for with a vegan perspective?
Oh, with a vegan perspective. Yeah. So like I said, with the skincare, usually I just try to find, I don't like to usually use the lotions that you look on the back of the label and it's going to have like 50 ingredients and things that I can't even mention their name or anything like that. So usually what I do is if I'm looking for a product, I try to see if it's just like got one ingredient. It's one ingredient label. And so like I mentioned, like with the shea butter, like it's a great lotion. It's just, that's what it is. It's from plants and it's fantastic. It's great with moisturizing your skin. And that's usually one of my favorite products to use that. So
that sounds great. Well, it's been delightful talking to you. I hope your mom, Corey, is still watching because I typed she must be very proud. Are there any more peacocks at home?
I don't think, I think my dad is at work, but yeah, so my dad will be watching this later. And then my brother, he's a swimmer too. I think he might be at home too. He might be watching.
Is he a competitive swimmer?
He is actually, he got a scholarship to swim at the University of Florida, which is, they're a top 5 like NCAA team. So he's also a distance swimmer too. So it definitely, I think, runs in the family.
Wow. Well, but it's interesting because peacocks aren't naturally aquatic
I know.
birds.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that is so funny. Well, this has been great. Thank you so much. And thank all of you for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. Please come back tomorrow. It's at 1 p.m. instead of 11 tomorrow, when along with Robert Cheek, who will be my co-host tomorrow, we'll be talking to another vegan athlete, bodybuilder, Giacomo Marchesi. Thanks again, Stephanie. It was great meeting you.
Thank you, Chef AJ. Appreciate it.